The City of Bristol, providing beautiful parks, economic development, and a family-friendly community.
Good evening. Welcome to the joint board meeting, Tuesday, February 14th. Please stand for Pledge Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask the members to please introduce themselves, starting my far right.
Commissioner Lamoth.
Orlando Kelfi, Board of Finance.
Mike Freeney, Board of Finance.
Ron Burns, Board of Finance.
Anthony D'Amato, City Council.
Jody Zills-Gagny, City Council.
Cheryl Tebow, Board of Finance.
Dave Perleski, City Council.
Dave Mills, City Council.
Mary Fortier, City Council.
Calvin Brown, City Council.
Town Clerk Therese Pack.
Assistant Dawn LaBella.
Mayor Ken Cucking. Item number 1.
Approval of minutes of the regular joint board meeting on January 10th, 2017.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item number 2.
It's the consent calendar, and there are 12 items. 2A is to make an additional appropriation of $326,678 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund funded by Code Enforcement Revenue. 2B is to transfer $6,500 within the Building Department operating budget for overtime and motor vehicle service. 2C is to make an additional appropriation of $1,530 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund funded by donations. 2D is to transfer $32,525 within the general fund. 2E is to make an additional appropriation of $68,826 within the general fund for the Interdistrict Cooperative Grant. 2F is to transfer $21,000 within the Capital Non-Recurring Fund for revaluation work. 2G is to transfer $52,243 within the Community Development Block Grant Fund for salaries. 2H is to transfer $15,000 within the Sewer Operating and Assessment Fund for the Sewer Junction Chamber Project. 2I is to transfer $13,700 within the Sewer Operating and Assessment Fund for the Recoat Pump Station Project. 2J is to transfer $12,908 within the Public Works operating budget for professional fees, travel reimbursement, and employee recognition. 2K is to transfer $25,000 within the insurance operating budget for claims deductibles, and 2L is to make an additional appropriation of $397,826 within the Special Education Grant Fund funded by grant revenue.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 3.
To transfer $22,170 from the general fund contingency account to operating transfer out special revenue.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 4.
To make an additional appropriation of $22,170 within the equipment building sinking fund for door locks.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Question.
Go.
How many door locks are these, and what kind of door locks are they?
That was my question.
Who wants to answer that?
Are these crypto locks, or what?
What are they for?
Is,
senior center?
Internal door locks, that's for Bill's Senior
What?
Center
It's
and
right
City
here.
Hall Council Chambers.
it's on the backup. That's if you click on the thing, no, on your computer, and click on the item, it will tell you how many locks.
53 door locks. I didn't scroll down far enough, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's some other things here too. I mean, Walt, you can come up and talk if you want.
You guys have any questions?
No.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 5.
To make an additional appropriation of $10,000 within the Capital Projects Fund for consulting services.
Move it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 6.
To transfer $10,000 from the general fund contingency account to operating transfer out capital projects fund.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 7.
To make an additional appropriation of $110,000 funded by general fund transfers in for the purchase of 14 Muzzy Street and related demolition and outstanding water sewer charges. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 8.
To rescind the appropriation of $50,000 within the capital projects fund for Wilson Field parking.
Move it.
Second?
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Yes.
Go.
Can you tell me why it's been rescinded, or why they're not going to do anything there?
This was on the list for many years, and Ed's not here, right? Is Ed here? I don't see him. This was on the parking list for quite a while. It was appropriated, and it was decided that the project is never going to happen, so we're using that $50,000 to pay for the Muzzy Street house through the park board.
Oh, it's never going to happen? Did they decide why it wasn't going to happen?
I don't recall why Ed said.
Well, I just recalled just talking about it several years ago,
Yeah, it's-
because the neighbors had a problem with, parking for games there, and there was no
We
place that
could
they
table it
went.
if you like until,
Well, I just wanted to know,
yeah,
why.
Ed's not here, we could table it if you want until next month.
Well, do you need the money for the other, for the?
Yes.
Mayor, I think we could assume that at some point in the future, they might put that back on their
If they
list.
do, yes. And this was discussed at length at the Board of Finance meeting about how we're going to pay for this, and Ed came up with a way to get all the money. It's a project that he didn't see ever happening, and if the Park Department decides to move forward, we will go back to the Board of Finance for another appropriation.
Okay, thank you.
The park board was also in favor of rescinding this.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Item number 9.
The monthly revenue and expense report presentation by the controller.
Good evening, everyone.
I notice you're wearing black tonight.
Yeah, we have to have a discussion and an update for you. First of all, as far as the city budget is concerned, everything's going along fine, as you see by my report. But we spent, the mayor and I this morning, better part of the morning at a CCM conference. And OPM Budget Director Ben Barnes was the featured speaker. And to talk about, the budget. You can imagine the frustration in the room from the mayors, the town managers, the first selectmen, and a couple of finance people like me asking the questions. But I think it would be helpful that I'll be presenting this in more detail at the Board of Finance level, but I think it's kind of helpful that you get updated periodically of what's taking place, so it's not a shock to you at the end of the process. First of all, we did receive our numbers from CCM that Governor Malloy presented. We do have a significant reduction in the ECS grant. It's about $6.9 million. That's troubling, and it's all on, we asked the question today, it's all on the city side, even though we're in a Lions district. So it's on our side. There was a lot of conversation about special education costs. And now we're losing 6.9 in ECS. However, they're changing the formula and the status. The excess cost grant is going away. So there's nothing called excess cost. However, they're giving us I shouldn't say giving, they're showing a $13 million grant in place of that. There was a long discussion and debate that was really not answered, but will be answered in the future, whether that's an entitlement or a reimbursement of expenditures, because we're getting reimbursed approximately $3.6 million right now, and now it's going from 3.6 to 13 million. And what's the reasoning behind that? So
Yeah, I thought it was to make up some of the difference in the ECS.
it was it may be, but it's specifically for education, and so there was a lot of questions about that, and Barnes is going to work with CCM to come back to us and give us a little bit of what is it about, because in one paragraph it talks about a entitlement, which is a grant, and then it goes on to talk about a sliding scale of reimbursement. So the formula is going to change a little bit, and that's kind of interesting. Now the big one, that's huge, but the larger one, teachers' retirement, and the shift from the complete payment and reimbursement by the state to for the teachers' retirement by the state and on behalf of. The payment now is about $6 million they're looking for from us. And it's not, and we have a number in our audit that is much less than what he said it was based on. We're about 13.5 million or so. And he showed a figure about 15, 16 million. And basically, it was a little bit misleading where he told us that there are actuarial numbers in addition to what they're reimbursing us. So, but he didn't show that. So it was a much higher reimbursement rate, and he's also Ben Barnes is also predicting that that number will be going up by $1.5 million to $2 million per year on our side. So it's really scary. Right now, the $6 million represents about $1.5 million just on that. So that's really scary. There is some good news because of all this. The spending cap will be gone. The 2.5% that we were talking about, that's gone because obviously if this is supposed to be approved as is, you're talking several $1 million increasing everything. So that has to go. There's going to be a motor vehicle cap like last year, and it's going down from 37 to 32 mils. We're supposed to be reimbursed for the difference, a couple $1 million. Of course, you never know if that's really going to happen in its entirety, so it's a little bit scary. And then the other thing is the hospital tax on real estate, not on personal property, but on real estate. And they put a number in approximately $2 million. I checked with Tom, our assessor, and that is a correct amount as far as the real estate is concerned. But obviously, the lobby groups are going to be coming out in full force. And we met yesterday with Kurt Barwis, and he was really expressing dismay in that they'll have to shut the lights down and, layoffs and everything else. So his lobby group is going to be up at the Capitol doing that. With this 1.9 hospital revenue that the governor is proposing, on the other side, obviously, we're losing the payment in lieu of taxes on property and the personal property. So it's about $700,000, and that makes sense if you're going to give us revenue on the other side. We had a little bit of disheartening news today. We received the pension reports for our actuarial required contribution. And the background on this is that we receive it annually, but we reduced the investment rate of return. And we're going down in tenths of percent from 7.5%. We're trying to get down to 7.25%. But here's the bad news, that in doing so, the required contribution, additional contribution is $2.8 million. So ouch. That's about $1.4 million to the Board of Ed and about $1.4 to us. They're a little bit lower, $1.382. So I contacted them this afternoon, and I'm going to have a discussion with them tomorrow to include that in their budget. That would be very important to, even though this is a high number, when we're going for a rating presentation, that's one of the questions the rating agencies are going to ask is what did you contribute with regards to your ARC, annual required contribution, and we want to make sure that we say we contributed the full amount. Hopefully, maybe the growth in the grand list can offset this to a large degree. Anyway, you probably saw the article on that. It's about $2.3 million in additional revenues, so we're hoping that can offset that. Becky from Milliman is going to address the Board of Finance on March 30th. That's a hearing date. So we have the miscellaneous departments that we discussed a few. So the lead partner from Milliman will be discussing this $2.8 million and how they came about it and what they see in the future. So that's kind of important. Also, we're including into the budget, all these expenditures are coming up at one time for debt service. As you know, we're going to be issuing debt, about $30 million in the spring, along with the rating presentation. The size and structure, that's the size. The structure will be that we'll delay the first principal payment for 1 year so it doesn't hit us and sock us at one time. But long-term debt has 2 interest payments associated with it. So we're guesstimating at this point that it's $500,000 apiece. We'll know better, obviously, in the early spring once we issue the debt and get a response from the marketplace on as far as who's going to be buying the debt at what rate. So that's a little bit something that we're putting these numbers together. We don't have the entire budget yet. Tomorrow night, by the way, is the first budget hearing. We got a lot of the smaller city hall departments, but a lot of the larger departments have not. We've met with all the departments to discuss their budgets, other than the larger ones like Public Works, and they met today with Parks Department and BDA and things like that. So, but the larger departments aren't completely in. There is some good news, and John knows this, as chair of the insurance committee, that we received the first round of insurance health benefits for our employees, what the projected rate increase would be. First time in many, many years, the projection is a decrease. So but we're cautious about that. As time goes on, each month, beginning of the month, we'll have an update from Siegel to tell us where we stand with that. I mean, a 6% decrease, since we all, raised our eyebrows at that, and it's kind of like we don't trust the number, but as we get closer to April 1st, we'll have a better handle. But I would probably predict that it will be flat, zero, and on both sides, city and Board of Ed. It's probably a reasonable thing to do. So that's a bit of good news. For those who want to know or do not know, the state budget session ends June 4th, and Barnes was quick to say, unless it's extended. And so we may have to consider extending our budget to drop that date by charter is June 1st, which is a Thursday. So the 4th is, I believe, is a Sunday. So we probably know unless they extend it, and if they do that, then that's a problem child. I sent all of you through Jody a 5-page summary report that CCM has presented as an alternative to this tax package that Malloy has presented. What they said to us, and I think it has some merit, is rather than having all the different communities present different options through their representatives, and then you get 169 different points of view, do this, do that, don't do this, they're suggesting that our representatives all get in line and use that 5-page summary as what the alternative proposal is. And the teacher's retirement switch in cost is roughly about $400 million for all of the state of Connecticut. And what CCM in part is proposing is that they increase the sales tax to 7%, and that they believe would offset the $400 million. Along with, you'll see in that 5-page summary, there's about 5 or 6 different mandates that would also lower the cost. So what they're proposing to us, and they said to us, Mayor, and they said that if we all get on board and we all, at the same time, same point, say, no, we don't want this package, we want CCM's package, there's less impact to the community. So we might want to think about that in the future, rather than everybody going in different directions and lobbying like that. So there's a lot to chew off. We're going to go in detail once we go into budget workshops with the Board of Finance. We'll have more information. I just won't present it verbally. I'll have it in writing so you can look at it and review it and understand. But it's a lot more complex this year than it ever has been. And not only my office is working with preparing our local budget, but then we have this anomaly happening at the state level. From what I hear and from what I'm seeing on this, that it may not be a all or nothing at all proposal. There are some things that Ben Barnes said that the governor is going to stand very, very fast on. So it's going to be a difficult situation, but they seem to lighten up on special ed, so that probably will happen. But there's going to be a fight on teachers' retirement, and of the 169 communities and districts and all that, 133 of them, we were told, are losing money, and the remaining 33, 35, whatever they are gaining. And of course, the ones that are gaining are the cities, other than ourselves. The Waterburys, the Hartford, the Bridgeports, his own community of Stamford. And so that's where the funds are going, and it's kind of a little bit of a Robin Hood effect. And the loss in ECS was based on, and it's interesting, all the communities were shaking their heads. The communities that are doing well, like Bristol, it was based on your grand list growth, and it was based on your ratings, bond ratings, which we went up, obviously, and it was also based on your fund balance. And they should know better, because fund balance, I always have said over the years, you do not want to use fund balance to balance your budget. This is the first year that we eliminated that practice. That's in part why we got a AAA rating, and the state of Connecticut knows better to say to use your fund balance to balance the budget, because it won't be there next year.
Questions?
Questions, a couple of comments. I thought, Glenn, when you combine the new CCS and the special ed, we wound up about $3 million ahead of the game.
Actually, no. When all this was said and done, they passed out a sheet, and if everything was included as they said, ECS going down 6.9, special ed going up 13, 2 million on the hospital, and there's something else that I forgot major, but anyway, the bottom line was about 200,000 we lost.
Okay.
Next year, it goes to $1.5 million. The second year of the budget goes to $1.5 million. But, you know, that's here nor there.
I would also hope, that I agree with you on the combining efforts with CCMM and everybody else. Having us contribute to the state teachers' retirement fund. First of all, teachers contribute 6% plus 1% by law. Second of all, the reason it's in trouble,
Because they haven't done it in the past.
because they haven't managed it. So if municipalities give them contributions, and we don't have any management say over it, in
It's
10
only
years,
gonna
it
go
could
up.
wind up in the same place all over again. I mean,
Yes.
we would be foolish to do that.
It's, that was, many town managers, many mayors, including our mayor, got up and spoke and said, you're only passing the buck. And then it's not in stone that it's gonna be 1/3. It'll go up. Once you put a tax on us like that, it doesn't go down, it goes up.
I believe they also, some time ago, borrowed from that fund and never paid it back.
That's correct. He actually said that, too. So we have some issues, you know, statewide, all the municipalities dealing with it. We're not that bad, but some of the communities are losing. Groton is the number one lost community, something like $12 million. It's ridiculous.
Well, the hospital issue is the same thing. We have the option to tax them. The state's going to increase their Medicaid reimbursements to offset some of that tax. That's a shell game. Why not just give the cities more pilot money and leave the hospitals alone? It solves
Yeah.
the same problem. But obviously, that's too easy for Ben Barnes to figure out.
Now, if the 13 million in special education, and they're going to go back and research this, how are we going to handle this? I mean, if it goes to us, and then we're going to redistribute it back to the Board of Education, quite frankly, we've only been getting about 3.6 million reimbursements. Special ed problem would go away, period, if we're getting 13 million. I mean, we can take whatever their excess costs, or whatever their costs are that are rising, it's not going to be 13 million, because that's half their budget is 24
But Glenn, he
million.
gave us two answers on that. One
Yes, he
was
did.
it's a reimbursement, and the other was you're gonna get the 13 million, so we never got a straight answer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't solve the special ed problem anyway, so.
No, it doesn't solve
Just
the
throws more
problem,
money at it.
but it would alleviate the problem that we'd have to have additional appropriations and a deficit if it comes to us and then we manage it, and all the more importance to have that special
Special ed
revenue
revenue
fund.
fund.
And that was kind of mentioned by Ben Barnes. He was saying, well, it depends on how you budget special education. He actually said, is it in the general fund or is it in another place? And he and I looked at each other and smiled. So, you know, he acknowledges that this is done in many different ways. But that 13 million is something that we're going to be working on. I'm going to meet with the education side with Steve is on board this week, and I've sent Ellen and Chris and everyone a email to let them know that I have paperwork behind this, and they're going to need to do their thing, and their lobby groups are going to need to do their thing on it. And Mike Dieter, the director of special education, I copied him, he needs to be up on this. There's going to be if it is reimbursement, there's going to be a sliding formula based on our grand list. So that's, I know, that's really.
So not based on the students in the program,
correlation
based on your grand list.
Based on your grand list, and the whole point is that if you're considered a wealthy in a community, they're not considering us a wealthy community, that they're gonna penalize you for doing well in finance.
Socialism.
That's, it's something, so that's my report. I'll keep you up to the.
Glenn, I have a question.
Sure.
I probably learned a little bit about this like a lot of other people, just reading about it in the paper. And one of the issues that was brought up, which I think is an issue that should be seriously looked at, is letting the cities go insolvent, letting them go into bankruptcy and reorganize, you know, and starting that. Now, no one's going to want to touch that political hot potato, but the fact is, these guys can't manage their way out of what they're doing now without help. What's to say that 5 years down the road, we're not going to be 5 years deeper into this as the adjoining communities continuing to bail them out?
They're the second largest shift from us to, the largest, I believe, is Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And then Hartford, like 40, 50 million, whatever it is, that's what they're gonna get. But, you know, you're right. I mean, my observations are, so you give them, you pour money in it, and what's going to change.
Right.
You know, there's another thing that I forgot to mention. It's something new that's going to happen. There's going to be an oversight board for all communities, and it's going to be at 4 levels. Like us, which we're probably level 1, the best, and West Hartford and the Glastonbury, we're doing very well. And then levels 2 and 3 go on a watch, and based on your financials and your rating and all that, if things are going, if you're getting
Right.
downgraded like the state of Connecticut did, I mean, really? And then if you're in level 4 and that's a Hartford, then there's going to be an oversight committee too that they have to report to.
Like
So-
Waterbury did.
Yeah, I happened to be on that board 10 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever it was.
I could tell you, Ben Burns got very defensive when I suggested that the mayors who balance their budget come to the state and help them.
Yeah.
Oh, he got real defensive.
He didn't like
Yeah.
that.
Took his glasses off
He
and
didn't like
stared at you.
Take care of your own house
I mean,
first.
I said kiddingly a few meetings ago, we ought to be careful what we tell them, because they could pass a law to mandate that we contribute something to the state, which is,
You could do it. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah. So, and then the other thing that's going to can affect, is that the reduction in ECS, this just changed. We could not affect, if there was a reduction before, an alliance district like us could not lower MBR.
Right.
Now we can lower the MBR by the difference of the ECS from one year to the next. So we went down 6.9 million. There's a scale that says if you're at 6.9, you can lower it $1 million, that type of thing. But we're only hurting ourselves, we're only hurting education to do so, because they're going to have many other things placed upon them because of this. But it's going to be tough, and it's probably going to be an extended session. And many of the mayors were going, how can we budget when there's referendums? One mayor was saying, he says, I have by charter referendums every 2 weeks if it doesn't pass. And he says, I'll be in referendum for months. And he says, and I'll never have a budget, I'll never know what the revenues are. And Ben Barnes was, oh, well.
Glenn, I have a quick question for you. This will be it, I swear.
That's okay.
Has any of the leaders from, the towns that are clearly going to be negatively affected, the 133 or whatever that number is, have they considered getting together and bringing a court action to block this?
That was not mentioned at all today. No, the emphasis by them that stood up and spoke, and many of them did, surrounding communities here. We saw town managers of Southington, Plainville, Wolcott, mayors, everyone. They said to CCM, get us the information so there's more clarity about special revenue funds, and then they agreed at the end of you happen to leave a little bit early on that one. They agreed, no, they didn't want court action, but what they wanted, let's all be on the same page with CCM. Let's not go in 133 different directions with our state legislators, and then it becomes a lobby group. Who wins the lobby group? But if the state sees that all the municipalities are going to take the report that I gave you by email, and let's stay with that. It's the best compromise, and it is. I read it. There's an attachment, which late nights reporting, sleeping would be, there's an 80-page that gives you in detail. But the 5-page summary is excellent. Pages 3 and 4 tell you exactly, and there was a lot of thought put into this. So if we do that, if we go with CCM and support that, possibly you may want to have a letter going to CCM and/or the state of Connecticut, our representatives, that we support this 5-page summary attached. I think that would be important. And then also in your meetings with CCM to tell them, this is the type of initiative we're doing, and have everyone else do it. Yeah.
Anything else?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cheryl.
The sheet you mentioned with the numbers, could you circulate that to the group, please?
I'm going to do that. As a matter of fact, I have it here, but I didn't bring the podium.
Just email it, that would be
Okay,
great.
I'll do the attachment. That's the easiest way.
see,
And-
cool.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking
Thank
about
you.
Not to muddy the waters, but the CCM suggestion's a great one, and we've been talking about this since we've been involved with unfunded mandates. They should do the same thing with unfunded mandates, come up with 2 or 3 that they're going to.
There are.
They are going to do that.
There's on page 4, I believe, are a half a dozen unfunded mandates.
Okay, good.
That you'll see that when you read it at your leisure.
Good.
Yeah, it was a well-thought-out alternative to the Malloy's actions.
Anything else? Mary?
Just a couple things.
Councilwoman.
First of all, thank you. I know it was a lot of stuff tonight, and it's a lot for us
Yeah.
to digest. Back to John's original point about us being to the good 3 million, We did get an email, which you may not have gotten. It may have just gone to council people, but it was from the education organization that has done some presentations to the Board of Education, and they were suggesting that it might be 3 million to the good. What I think they may not have done is looked at the impact of the hospital
That's
situation.
exactly right.
So I just wanted to clarify where we had heard that,
Okay.
and, you know, that it may not be a disparity, it may just be that it wasn't apples to oranges.
Sure. What you'll see tomorrow in an attachment from my office is what Ben Barnes brought with him. He had a listing of all the towns and cities and what their numbers were, because people were speaking from all different.
Right.
And he would say, I'm the mayor of Bristol. He'd go, okay, I've got your numbers.
Right.
Let's talk about them. We have a snapshot of that page, and everything I spoke about is on that page. And it shows what the current year's numbers are for ECS, hospital reimbursement and all that. And then it shows what we're anticipating, Malloy's budget for 17, and it's a 2-year budget, and it shows Malloy's budget for 18. 18 is when we get whacked, but 17, 18 was only a couple $100,000, if everything was approved as is.
Right, which obviously, for everyone else too, this is just the first step. I mean, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
the governor's
Yeah.
proposal, and we don't know how it's going to change.
You know, it's a 1.7, was it billion-dollar problem? I mean, what's the alternative? I mean, again, we can't have 20 different plans being alternative unless we cherry pick each one, pick out the good and throw out the bad. But I think, and when you read the CCM report, I would think we support it, because it's at least a reasonable alternative. What's being presented here is not reasonable by the governor. It's just a shift in burden.
Let me say also that for the first time since I've been mayor and involved as a councilman, I really see mayors stepping up to the plate. Mayor O'Leary in Waterbury is organizing our COG, and he's taking a leadership role where he's keeping all the mayors informed of what bills are coming up. I'm testifying with him on Thursday on a bill that's being proposed, as I've done in the past. And we're looking at the bills, we're watching them, we're watching unfunded mandates. We're really aggressively hitting up our state people to go after unfunded mandates. So
We should probably have a meeting like we did last year to invite them in.
Yep.
And I would venture to say it should be a 2-part task. Last time it was, tell us, state reps and Senate, where do we stand? I think that's helpful. They should tell us that, but then we should in turn tell them that here's what we think you should do. The CCM thing or any other alternative that we come up with. So it should be a 2-part, so they know that they can go in and say, we support this. 133 communities that want the CCM plan over your plan. So that's where we're going to go.
I think we could talk all night on this
Oh, yeah,
budget.
it's
Any other
a long
questions?
thing.
I had just
Go
one
ahead.
more on a different topic, which we had been through the last few months, so it's kind of old business, but the lawyer fees, yes. And I didn't bring it up last month, I didn't get a chance to. And I realized this month, we have very little expenditure in that category. It looks like a small portion of one bill. It says ombudsman questions, but that in last month's, the one I didn't talk about, we had a little over $15,000. Does that, square with your recollection?
1,500.
I don't recall. I don't know. Would you be able to? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fine. That's just what it's showing on
minor,
those
though.
last
Yeah,
two
it is.
pages.
It is
Okay.
minor, so I don't think we have.
So I'm glad that you brought that up, because let's talk about the legal bills. You keep reiterating every month about the legal bills and saying that the investigation cost $86,000 or somewhere around that number. Let's clarify what the numbers are. $25,000 roughly was an investigation that had to be performed for allegations on myself that was found that was unfounded. $41,000 of that bill is FOI complaints from Craig Minor. All the city either won or Craig Minor withdrew. Craig is a former councilman, and I believe he's a member of the DTC, which in my opinion is running up the bills. $42,000 was from counsel that was brought in to protect the council and all involved, that what they can talk about and what they can't talk about. Mainly because, Councilman Fortier, you often put things on your husband's blog that really shouldn't be on your husband's blog. So that was really brought in to protect all involved. This investigation was completed, the council was briefed, All recommendations have been completed, and your continuing questioning and bringing this up is nothing but a possible trying to attempt spear campaign politically. And I think it's time to stop.
Oh, may I respond?
Sure.
The reason that I keep asking what the legal bills are every month is because they continue to accrue. There is still a complaint that's pending, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. This is not a done deal. It's something that continues to accrue legal bills, and that's why I'll keep asking about it as long as it continues to accrue. It's still, a complaint is still pending. Is that not right?
And will their DTC members still continue to run up the tabs in excess of $41,000 right now?
I'm not sure Craig is a DTC member,
Okay,
but
so
Craig has a right to file an FOI
You're
complaint.
absolutely right, and it's the city's rule to defend it. But when no of those FOIs have been found, and the city's won, and he's withdrew them all. So in my opinion, that's a waste of money.
Okay, but the bills that I'm referring to are not just FOI bills.
No, but that's a majority. That's actually most of the bill right there. Thank you. Any other discussion? Item number, any other business?
Just one, no, go ahead, sure.
Oh, no, go ahead. I went first last time.
We got an email today about the Boulevard. There's a meeting on the 21st.
I was going to announce that, yes.
And I just wanted to ask if we could get any information ahead of time so we'd have a chance to study it
We
before we
plan
come to the
on getting
meeting.
it out. I think we talked about it. Once we get it all together, the council and the joint board members will have it in about a week or so prior to, so you could review it.
Thank you.
And, go.
Yes, Glenn made mention of the budget hearings beginning. Tomorrow is the first one. These hearings are open to any citizen, any city council member to sit in and attend. The material that we look at can be found on the city's website, and if you go to the budget tab, you can download and review all the documentation that we sit and discuss. So these aren't closed meetings, and we encourage people to become informed of looking at the same material we are, that we'll be evaluating and taking into consideration along with the state gloom and doom that Glenn shared with us tonight. But the first meeting is tomorrow night, 6 o'clock here in council chambers.
And they're very exciting. Come watch. Any other thing? Motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Council meeting starts in 5 minutes. Good evening. Welcome to this city council meeting, February 14th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have the council members please introduce themselves, starting my far right?
Calvin Brown, District 1.
Tony D'Amato, District 1.
Jody Zills-Gagnon, District 2.
Dave Mills, District 3.
Dave Perleski, District 2.
Mary Fortier, District 3.
Town Clerk Therese Pack.
Assistant John Labella.
And I'm Mayor Ken Cockane. Have a moment of silence for our troops on active duty. Thank you. Item number 2.
Approval of minutes of the regular city council meeting on January 10th, 2017, and the special city council meeting on January 3rd, 2017.
Move it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Public participation. Tim Gamache.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors. Tim Gamache, 79 Cypress Street. I don't speak for all the veterans in the city of Bristol. I don't have that authority, but I'm sure I speak for a lot of them. I'm here tonight to simply thank both the private donors and the city support for continuing to keep Veterans Strong Community Center open. It is probably the most valuable resource and asset the veterans community, not only in Bristol, but the surrounding towns has. And I'm just here to applaud your efforts, and I hope they'll continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Orlando.
Orlando Kelfi, 64 Leslie Court. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Tim, happy to support the Veteran Strong community. I have a safety suggestion. This involves the crosswalk at West Street with Meadow and Gaylord by the Boys and Girls Club. There's a high number of infractions on that road in that area. And with the crosswalk, I wanted to find out if we could conduct a safety study, unless one has already occurred, to see if we could put in a flashing yellow caution. An example is if you go down to Western Connecticut State University and you want to cross White Street, you press the button and the lights flash and motorists know to stop or slow down. The area that I'm talking about is rather dark, and there's a lot of children that are there, and especially when there are a lot of activities with cars. So that's the first point I have.
So before you go on, the chief is here. He'll talk to his traffic division and then address that.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the second is just an inquiry. If I wanted to find out more information about the public-private partnership for the Working Cities Grant and what's happening across the street, where would I go to find that information?
Working Cities Grant will be Justin Malley, both instances. Our BDA director.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Rippy Patton.
Rippy Patton, 49 Field Street. I didn't come with a prepared statement, so I'll try to be brief and quick. I just can't stay in the room and hear hypocrisy. I have pet peeves, that's one of them, and I just heard some that forced me to get up and address it. During the joint board meeting, I know, as it has for several months, the topic of expenses and legal fees had come up, and from what I just heard, and I could be wrong, I think the mayor just tried to attribute about 40% of them to Craig Minor and the Democratic Town Committee. I think that the public should know Craig Minor is not a Democratic Town Committee member, has not been for some time.
I stand corrected.
So that should be cleared up. Full disclosure, in terms of trying to place blame or point fingers, I think it should be noted that during the mayor's last campaign, towards the end of it, there was a complaint made against his opponent by the Republican Town Committee, filed in Hartford, by Derek Seslinski, I believe his name is, on behalf of the Bristol Republican Town Committee, co-signed by a man by the name of Terry Parker, who I know is also associated with the Republican Town Committee. Now, Hartford, the Freedom of Information Commission did a full investigation. They held hearings. No one from Bristol, in terms of the Republican Town Committee, who filed the suit, had the decency to show up to one hearing. I believe the people of Bristol were on the hook for 8 to 10 months, paying lawyer fees on an elected official who was accused of something by the Republican Town Committee. I don't think you have to do much math to know that basically what happened is the Republican Town Committee found a way to finance the most expensive part of the mayor's campaign with public funds. The taxpayers paid those legal fees, and they worked. Because as soon as the election was over, they never showed up to a hearing. Is that incorrect? Does anyone know? Is that incorrect? That's correct. I watched the hearing, and I don't believe that they showed up for one, and eventually the state threw it out. If anyone needs further confirmation of that, I believe the meeting was August of 2016. It's available on the state website, and you will see several members of the Bristol Republican Town Committee sit there and ask if they can refile and spend more money because they dropped the ball when that happened. So again, I didn't have this a prepared statement. That was just extremely hypocritical of you to sit there and make that accusation towards Craig Minor, put the Democratic Town Committee in there on the record when it had nothing to do with them, and your own party, your own committee is guilty of actually doing what you just committed or accused them for. So that's it. I just want to put that on record. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have for public participation. Announcements starting my far right.
Yes, just a quick announcement. A few weekends ago, or was it last Saturday, Councilwoman Fortier, Councilor Perleski, and myself held office hours to listen to the public at the Bristol Public Library. So first, I want to say thank you to the Bristol Public Library for the room that we reserved and for the wonderful and accommodating services of the library staff. And I'd also like to report that we had the biggest crowd of people turn out to talk to us about city issues in my time as a counselor from my first term and this term. Close to probably 24 people showed up to talk about issues in the city. We talked a lot about blight. We talked about the Memorial Boulevard project and the downtown project and what the city can do to prioritize certain things that build Bristol's future. And it was not only an enlightening conversation to hear so much input from the public, but it was also an inspiring conversation, because being able to keep those connections with members of the public and hear what they have to say on these important issues provides a lot of motivation for those of us sitting up here in terms of feeding our thought process about what to do moving forward. So I want to say thank you to all the citizens who showed up at our office hours, some of whom are here with us this evening at a council meeting, which is great to see, and we very much look forward to scheduling another one. So that's it for announcements from me.
Councilman.
The only announcement that I have is, obviously, we've gotten quite a few snowstorms back to back, and driving around the city, I've noticed that a lot of the fire hydrants have not been shoveled out. I understand that some of the banks on the roads are high, I understand, but we had a fire in my particular neighborhood over by Morningside Drive during the first snowstorm. And if that hydrant wasn't shoveled out, the rest of the guy's house would have burnt to the ground. So it's very important that you don't make any excuses, that we shovel these things out. If you're unable to do it, find a neighbor, find a child, find someone who can do it, but probably 3 out of 5 that I drive by are not shoveled out. It's a big problem. In the middle of the night, when your house is burning down, those valves are frozen. They don't open up. So you got a big problem. So if we can take care of that, that would help everyone out. Appreciate it.
Councilwoman?
That's it.
The home show is this weekend at Bristol Eastern High School, both Saturday and Sunday. I think it opens at 11 and goes until 6. Last weekend, the Bristol Boys and Girls Club had their annual Mother-Son Valentine's Day dance, and I just wanted to let everyone know they're having a Father-Son Dudes Night Out next month, March 24th. There's going to be a blood drive at Bristol Hospital on Friday, February 24th from 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And I just want to say Happy Valentine's Day to all of you spending it with us tonight.
That was my line. Councilman.
Yeah, I have a couple. First, I want to congratulate Bristol Eastern's wrestling team, undefeated season for the first time since 1983. It's quite an accomplishment by the team and the coach. And then the second is, I want to make an announcement that on March 8th at Bristol Central High School at 7 o'clock, there's going to be a free program put on by the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame about the dangers of social media. That's going to be put on by a gentleman by the name of Tom Pinsence from Central Connecticut. And I've heard the presentation, and it gives examples as to some of the problems that occur with social media, and things like getting into school, getting a job, getting a scholarship to school, some of the things that happen with kids from all different ages. So it's open to the public. It's open to, we're suggesting that anybody that shows social media in any way, so any junior high and high school kid, all their parents, grandparents, anybody that needs to be involved in it should plan to come. It's free. It's at Bristol Central High School on the 8th of March, and it would be a program that really is worthwhile listening to. When you listen to some of the things that are happening as a result of social media, it is scary. I'll give you one example real quickly because I know we're running late. Just think of your child. Everyone tries to accumulate, what do they call them? Contacts, right? And they have hundreds of contacts. Suppose your child is out in front of Bristol Central High School at 6 o'clock at night. The parent's supposed to pick them up at 6. And they get on their phone and they text or they send an email message that, Mom, where are you? You're not here. I'm standing all by myself out in front of Bristol Central High School. It's dark and nobody's here. Who does that message go to? Lots of people that they don't know. You need to hear this information because it's scary, okay? And you need to know what to do. You need to protect your kids and your grandkids. So again, I suggest that you put the date down, March 8th rather, Bristol Central High School. Thank you.
Councilman. Thank you, Mayor. I know we're running late. I'll try to be brief, but one of the more worthwhile organizations in our town is the Bristol Education Foundation. They're in need of mentors and tutors for their programs. It's a program where volunteers give 1 hour a week to help these kids in the elementary, middle school, and high school levels. Very gratifying. Janine Audette at the Board of Ed is the contact person, and if you, or you can, my phone number and email address is on the city website. Senior Center has has tax preparation on Tuesdays and Fridays from 8:30 to 12:30, first come, first serve. That's through April 11th, I believe. And the West End Taste of Bristol, still going on strong. Buy your tickets, and great, if last minute Valentine's Day gift shopping. And if you have any information about any of these organizations, you need them, go to their websites or give me a jingle on my cell. Thank you.
Just one announcement for me. Our BDA, Bristol Development Authority, is planning tentatively for a date of March 9th at 6:30 to have a workshop and talk about the infrastructure plans for Center Square across the street, the road that we hope to build, and the landscaping, I guess, and other associated features of the infrastructure that we plan to build there to accompany the hospital's building. So that will be a workshop that the Board of Finance and the council are invited to, but that certainly the public is invited to. And we would look forward to your feedback on the stuff they show us. And again, that's tentatively scheduled for March 9th at 6:30 here in council chambers.
I have a few. Duck race tickets go on sale this weekend. They'll be at the home show. The race is May 7th, and benefits go to the Forestville Village Association as well as young professionals at the chamber. Is that correct, Cheryl? So it's always a fun day, the duck race. If you haven't been, you need to attend. I know I haven't been lucky enough to win yet, although I think I buy tickets from everyone who I see. We are having a special joint board meeting for the cost attributed to Memorial Boulevard moving City Hall there. It's going to be March 21st, 5:30 p.m. That is going to be an informational meeting, so if you want to hear about that, please attend. That's going to be in this council chambers. Then lastly, we are undergoing currently a city website update. The webpage has not been updated since 2011, and even though it's 6 years old, believe it or not, it's outdated. It's going to be much more user-friendly. It's going to have a whole new look, and that's currently being undertaken. You won't see it when you go on the website, but they're working on it behind the scenes, so look for that in the near future. That's going to be exciting. And that's all I have. Item number 5.
Consent.
Let me go one more thing. I'm sorry. Tim talked about the Veterans Strong. Let me just give a little update where we are there. Veterans Strong started, I believe, 5 years ago, maybe, Tim, as Army Strong. There were 6 offices throughout the country. City of Bristol was the only one that had an office inside of City Hall. About a year ago, the Army pulled out all the funding. It was approximately $17 million. They pulled out, shut all 6 offices. As Tim said, through volunteers, we were able to keep it open for the last year. This January came a time where the doors were going to close if something didn't happen. So the Board of Finance stepped up along with some volunteers and kept it open until July 1. I, along with several other mayors, are looking to regionalize this office. I think there's 11 communities that we service out of this office. We've got pretty much everyone signed on. We're still working on a couple municipalities. But we're going to regionalize this. It's going to be the only one in existence in the country. We've already got the sign-on by the Veterans Commission. He is excited about it. And you know, our veterans gave a lot, not only the veterans, but their families. Every time they're deployed, their families suffer and deal with a hardship. So we have to do this for the veterans. They deserve it, and we will do it. And so I think it's going to be an exciting time. We're going to make this happen. So that's where that was. Thanks for bringing that up, Tim. I'm sorry, now we're done.
The consent calendar, and there's 6 items. 5A is to place on file the new hire report for January 2017. 5B is to approve the tax refunds dated February 3rd, 2017. 5C is to approve a tax assessment freeze application for Alex & Sons Group, LLC, owner of 312 Oakland Street, Bristol, for the rehabilitation of a blighted property with the restoration of a single-family structure per Bristol Code of Ordinances, Section 5-57. 5D is to approve the use of the likeness of the city seal and the Bristol All Heart logo on promotional materials and social media by the Central Connecticut Chambers of Commerce for the Healthy Communities 2020 Health Fair on May 13th at Bristol Eastern High School. 5E is to approve the service agreement between the City of Bristol and Foley Carrier Services LLC for random drug and alcohol testing for CDL drivers, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute the agreement and any other necessary documents. And 5F is to award contract 2P1777, leasing of computer equipment to CCA Financial LLC, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to sign any and all documents necessary to effectuate said contract.
So moved.
Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item number 6,
There were
real
committee
estate.
reports.
Okay, I have a couple of motions, Your Honor. I hereby move that the City of Bristol enter into an exclusive right to sell listing contract with Keller Williams Realty to sell 533 Brook Street. I further move that this matter be referred to Corporation Council to prepare and review all necessary documents. I further move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Which property is 533 Brook
It's
Street?
an open lot.
Whereabouts?
It's about, it's opposite, just about opposite Louisiana Avenue. Just-
Okay, yeah,
it was-
is
I
that
think
by
there was
the-
a fire or
There was a
something.
Is that by
fire.
the substation?
There was a fire down
When
there.
you come off of Route 6,
Okay,
it's probably
yeah, okay, I
6
know which one
houses
you're-
in, I think?
Yep,
On the
by
right?
river. Yep. Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion passes.
If I can get to the next one. I will get there. Okay. Trying to get to the next motion. Close it. Here. Thank you. All this help, that's what happens when you're challenged, technically challenged. Okay, I hereby move the City of Bristol seek request for proposal for the disposition of property owned by the city known as 76 South Street on map 31 of the Bristol Assessor's Office, and the purchasing agent be authorized to request proposals, and he sent out press release in addition to the legal notices and update the city website. I further move that this matter be referred to the Corporation Council to prepare and review any necessary documents. I further move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same. This property is the parking lot, actually, that was created by tearing down the building
The one on the corner of
on the
Union
corner
Street
of Union
and
Street and South Street. Okay.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes.
And the last one, I'll get to it quickly. I hereby move that the City of Bristol accept the offer from David Haberfield in the amount of $3,000 for city-owned property known as 37 Summer Street on map 26 of the Bristol's Assessor's Office. I further move that this matter be referred to the Corporation Council to prepare any necessary documents. I further move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same. This property is a parking lot across from the, on the corner of Summer Street, as you're going around the corner from Main Street. The apartments on the right-hand side, the red building, it's a parking area across the street. It was suggested, and the committee decided to sell this. The assessor felt that this would be a fair price to get rid of that lot. So that's what we're doing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
And I do have a question. Is that something that, I believe there had been a building on that parcel at one point. Am I wrong about that?
I don't think there was a building there. I think it was just
I
always.
think there
parking.
was.
The one maybe a long time
I think it's on the
ago.
other side of the building. I think this is the property that it takes a steep drop.
Yes.
And it's really, it's a useless piece of property.
Well, I understand what it is now. I was just asking if there had been a building on it, was it a building we had torn down?
Yes, it
Or-
was.
I don't
I
remember a
believe it
building ever
was.
being.
Guy, did we tear that one down, 37 Summer? Yes, it was.
And do we know how much we paid to tear it down?
Attorney Lacy, do we get, we're probably in litigation with that still, right? We're not, okay. Do we get, we don't know. I mean, we could find out. We'll get you the number tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Your Honor, for the Real Estate Committee.
All-
And we have to vote on that one, though. I
Any other
seconded it. but-
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Any other committee reports, starting my far left?
Well, I'm not sure exactly where this belongs, whether it's a committee report or not. I was going to ask the Director of Public Works to just come up and give us an overview about snow removal. I know the Thursday storm was pretty big, And so I guess, wanted him to give people information on how we attack those kind of storms and how we think we did.
What I expected, with that kind of, with that amount of snow, what I expected. Did you? Good evening. Yes, we had 3 storms in a 5-day period. The first storm, we had, depending on where you were in the city, anywhere from 15 to 18 inches of snow. And then the second 2 storms, generally somewhere around 3 to 4 inches throughout the city, which left us with excessive snow in many areas of the city. We have shifted our operations to we're doing 3 things right now with the street division. One, we're doing patching of the city's roads because it's wintertime. The second is we're still clearing the sidewalks and bridges in areas that I'm responsible to clear. But I have crews going out, starting to clear excessive snow, which is part of our winter operations plan after large storms. We start in the cul-de-sacs and areas that either the police or the board education identifies are trouble areas for them, which might be some of their bus stops or other locations. But we would hit cul-de-sacs and intersections where sightline is blocked. And once we get those clear, we go back into areas in the neighborhoods where we would go and try to widen the streets. We use both our large blowers and loaders where we can blow snow back onto lawns. We do that because we can move faster. Otherwise, we have to truck it out. But we've started that operation. We actually started it last Friday after the second storm. And then again today. We continue, and we'll continue that until either the weather melts the snow or we actually get around the city.
Okay. And I had one follow-up question. When we have sidewalks that aren't cleared, either by businesses or residential owners, is that something that you only address on a complaint basis, or is that something that you would address on your own? And I know you're busy right now, but I happen to notice, there's quite a few places, I believe, where the sidewalks have not been cleared yet. But one that I noticed that I thought was particularly dangerous was the corner of Route 72 and, is it Emmett Street, where there is a convenience store gas station that's undergoing some renovations where they're digging up their tanks or something, and their sidewalks were not done. And there was a gentleman, I hesitate to call him a senior citizen, but he was clearly older than myself, and he was climbing up onto the snowbank to push the walk signal to cross Pine Street or Route 72, and then climbing back down from the snowbank to try and cross during the lighted time to do so. And I would feel that business has a duty to shovel, even though they may not even be open at the moment, but people have to be able to walk around that corner. And that was just an example.
Well, it would actually go into 2 different things. One, if it's snow stacked at the intersection, we would be coming around to try to remove that. And depending on information we get from the police department or what we see ourselves, we would prioritize different areas.
Right.
But then in terms of actual clearing sidewalks by the city ordinance, it is a complaint-driven action, and it goes through the police department. They go through an investigation and notification, and if they can't get the property owner to respond in a reasonable amount of time, they turn it over to Public Works and we address it.
Okay. And so it would be up to folks to call the police if that is an issue, the regular police number?
That is correct.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I have for committees.
Any committee reports? 2, thank you. The ordinance committee is meeting tomorrow. We are working on a fairly significant issue regarding non-conforming roads. We plan to have a public workshop. Look on the city website for the dates. And the other committee members are council members D'Amato or Mills. Thank you guys, too, for your help. And that should be planned for either later this month or early March. The BDA, the Community Block Grant public hearing is scheduled for February 22nd at 5 p.m. It's an opportunity for the general public to have some input or discuss city housing needs or community needs. And I just wanted to say that I've been part of 3 departments' budget process so far this winter, and I'm very happy with how diligent our department heads have been and how serious they've taken this very challenging budget year. So I know we're just beginning, but I'm very happy with the budgets I've been involved with. Thank you.
I have a couple things. Just to add on what Mary said, for those that don't remember, there is an ordinance for people who plow that they're not supposed to take the snow from the driveway and push it out into the road or push it across the street onto someone else's property. If that happens, again, the public should call and get that taken care of. But one thing I want to talk about here is just the School Readiness Council and preschool programs we have in the city of Bristol. I happen to be on the School Readiness Committee and sit in as a liaison, and it's amazing how many people are served. I don't know how many people in here realize that we serve between 500 and 600 children of preschool age, getting them ready for school, which is an incredible thing. And I just want to read a few statistics, if I may, so I don't get them wrong, and it'll also go a lot faster, okay? We get $2.9 million as a school readiness grant, okay, that serves 396 preschool children ages 3 to 4 with a quality preschool experience. But that's only half the story. The grant allows working families an affordable early care educational setting for their child. This grant allows pay for the salaries of approximately 109 staff members of those programs. There are other grants the city receives that offsets in the cost of early care and education costs for young children. The Child Daycare Grant, and the city is the fiduciary and school readiness grant manager monitors $1.7 million. It's a 4-year grant. 30 infant and toddlers and 15 preschool, and a lot of this is the new program we have, the Motto Project up at the Jennings School. The Head Start Grant Program serves 74 preschool children. The Board of Ed Alliance Grant serves 60 preschool. The Bristol Early Education, BECA, serves about 80 kids, okay, and plus has about approximately 20 peers. In Bristol, we have approximately 565 preschool spaces that are subsidized on a sliding scale. Some are free, and 30 infant and toddler spaces. That's close to 600 subsidized spaces in the community, 600 opportunities for children to get an early start on learning. And as a parent of a teacher that teaches kindergarten, this is critical because it makes a huge, huge difference for kids starting school. It makes a difference. Obviously, we've gone to all-day kindergarten, and that is part of the reason why we've had so much success in our communities because of this early childhood program. So again, I took very briefly, I just wanted to just tell you a little bit about it, but 500 to 600 kids are serviced by these programs in our city by people that are certified staff to do this, which is just absolutely outstanding. That's all I have.
Councilwoman.
I don't have much this month. The Memorial Boulevard Building Committee is in a holding pattern right now so that we can decide whether or not to move City Hall over there. And I believe the mayor misspoke. He gave the March 21st as the date. It's actually March 20th. It's a Monday. I did want to congratulate Public Works on all their hard work over the past week. I know that they put in a lot of long hours, and obviously there's going to be people out there complaining, but I think you did a great job, and I want to thank you all. And I want also to follow up on what Orlando Calfee was saying to the police chief. If you do talk about the area near the Bristol Boys and Girls Club and Gaylord Street and West Street to your traffic division on the crosswalk, also might want to mention all the cars that park along West Street. If you're leaving Gaylord, it's very hard to see around that corner, so that might be something to add there too. That's it.
That's it. Councilman?
None other than at this point, now that you mentioned that, but the Boys Club, maybe the miscellaneous committee can look at some streetlight options at that time if the intersection is dark. Other than that, no new business.
Councilman?
Yes, quickly, as we begin to look at the budgets and formulate the budgets for all the city departments, I kind of want to do something that Councilor Mills did and highlight an important city asset that I think sometimes gets overlooked, and that is our public libraries. So I want to share some statistics for the Bristol Public Libraries. The Bristol Public Library has over 227,000 items in its collection. Around 209,000 items are books, and around 89,000 of those are books for children. And in Bristol, the library is really a valued destination for citizens. Around 226,000 people visited the Bristol Public Library just last year. Around 51,000 people participated in programs offered at the library, and just over 38 internet-connected computers that are part of the library system were used over 46,000 times by members of the public. So that's an instance where thousands of residents get a chance to be connected to the world in a way that sometimes we all take for granted. Over 275,000 items were borrowed from the Bristol Public Library last year, and the American Libraries Association's Library Value Calculator values the Bristol Public Library at almost $5.8 million in terms of the service and revenue that it generates for the city and the opportunities it offers for the citizens of Bristol and beyond, Greater Bristol. If you could monetize the value of that, the value of the library would be almost $5.8 million. So to me, in my tenure as a counselor, being the library liaison, I've gotten to learn so much more about the Bristol Public Libraries and what they have to offer, and it's really opened my eyes to the type of asset it is for the city. It's easy to get sort of caught up in the discussions of what's going to happen on this parcel of land, or what's going to happen with this building, or what's the public works budget going to be and the police department budget going to be, but it's important to remember the services that are offered by the library, by the Youth Services Bureau. And even though we don't always, every one of us, benefit from the services offered by those departments, the value that it gives to the community at large, especially to the people that need it most, I think can never go unstated. So that's it for committee reports from me.
Thank you. I have one thing that I should have said under announcements, and he's going to kill me, but I'm going to say it. This is Ed Swickless' last council meeting. He's retiring. So Ed, I wanted to embarrass you. It was under Ed's leadership that, our parks, through many years, the budgets were cut, and he brought back our parks the way they were. We have Rockwell to attribute under his leadership, Muzzy Field, Page Park, all the improvements, the water parks, the pools. So Ed, great job. You're going to be missed here at City Hall in the park system. And Paul Strotman, I think he's here. He's also retiring. Paul, we wish you luck as well. He doesn't like him calling him out, but wish you luck in your retirement as well. Paul is our city engineer. So unfinished business, starting my far right.
None for me.
None, Your Honor.
None.
None?
None.
I have a couple of items. The first, again, is for our Director of Public Works, I think, and again, I'm not sure if this is the right person to be calling up, but what I wanted addressed was the changing of the parking directions here in our parking lot. And I assume it's Walter. For those of you that may have missed the memo, we did change the direction of our the way you enter and leave the back parking spaces here behind the building. You used to have to come from Meadow Street and go through to Laurel, and now it's going from Laurel to Meadow. But there was some confusion. My first question, I guess, is how this came about, because I know it didn't go through Public Works or the Disability Commission, and as far as I know, it didn't go through the Police Board. So I'm just wondering where it came from, if you could explain that to start.
Well, there's several things going on related to security around City Hall and looking at access, especially related to access for ADA and directing the public to those appropriate entrances. And in looking at that, we, through the Mayor's Office, Public Works, and working with the Police Department, determined that in the long term to change back, which was at one time the direction, but to reverse the direction of the people right now know as in the city's back or west parking lot was the best thing to do to direct people to what's actually the northern entrance of City Hall, which will, at a point in the future, be the main entrance for the public for City Hall.
And it's currently the only access for disabled folks?
That's currently the ADA access to City Hall, correct.
Okay. And again, for the folks in the audience who aren't aware, the memo that we received in January, mid to the end of January, said that it would also make part of Meadow Street one-way. And we got letters from folks on Meadow Street because they would have had to come through our parking lot to get to their properties in the section of Meadow Street between Meadow and Kelly. And that, I've heard today, has been changed. Again, if you could just explain.
That was the intent was always that Meadow Street is and will continue to be a two-way street. It's just that as you enter the city's parking lot, you would no longer be able to come in from Meadow Street. We apologize for the wording that was caused some problems with that, but Meadow Street, and specifically the three properties that are on the south side of Meadow Street, east of Kelly, they have access in that. The signage indicates that they have access. They just cannot continue through the city's parking lot.
Okay. And I just had one other thing, just something I noticed just as I came in tonight, that the one-way sign here is kind of sideways.
Well,
Like,
it's a casualty of the snow operations.
right, right. I just wanted to clarify that that sign is not correct right now because it was moved apparently by a plow, so. And you are going to send out a new memo or?
A notice is going to those property owners, yes.
Okay, thank you. And one other unfinished business for the personnel director. Hi, I just wanted to say that we had the 2 sessions of sexual harassment training for supervisors in January, and I just wanted to say that I thought they went well. I thought they were well received. I hope you got good feedback from folks. I don't know if anyone gave you any.
We did get good feedback.
Okay.
Thank you.
And my question is simply, is there anyone else that still needs the training? Do we have to set up a third date?
We have some stragglers, maybe 8 to 10, that we'll probably send individually.
Okay.
And then we also have some police and fire supervisors that we may do online at a future date.
Okay.
But all of them have been through the initial training.
Okay. And so what would be your plan for the next sexual harassment training in general? In other words, would that be something you would plan to do every year, or would you just do it when you had enough new supervisors, or what exactly would be your
New
plan?
supervisors we send them to Wheeler Clinic when they're either newly hired or newly promoted.
Right.
That always happens.
Newly a supervisor?
Correct. We will do ongoing training every other year.
Okay.
As recommended by the Rose Report.
Okay. Thank you. That's it for me for unfinished business.
And I have nothing. New business, starting my far right.
None for me.
None, Your Honor.
None.
None.
Mayor, can I bring one thing up? Go ahead. We did get some favorable financial news when we announced the grand list increase.
Yes.
And I want to take a second because when I saw the numbers, I like to dig into those things a little bit. And I talked with our assessor, Tom Deneau, and I want to recognize Tom and his staff's work. In that increase, there's a lot of work that goes into that. Over $8 million of the increase is attributable to work that Tom, his staff, and they hired some very good consultants to help him in his work. But through the audit process, where we verify and we go through personal property lists and things, we found an additional, I think it's over, if my math is right, it's over $8 million. And that's a significant portion of our tax increase. So I want the people to know, and when you do those audits, it's a difficult job. It's sensitive. You're dealing with people, companies like ESPN, and we want to be good to our corporate citizens, but also we want to be fair. And so everybody pays the fair share. And I think Tom recognizes that delicate balance, and I think they did a great job. So I want to recognize the work that they did as part of that a fabulous number increase that we haven't seen in years. And just to put a number behind what you're talking about, and I agree with everything you said, it's $66 million increase is our grand list. That's going to bring approximately $2.3 million new tax income into the city. So you're right, great work.
Thanks, Tom.
That's it.
Thank you.
You're all set. Okay, and just one for me for new business, and again, our personnel director. Sorry, if he had started left to right, he could have just stayed from
Getting comfortable up here.
unfinished to new business. But the mayor just brought up the fact that Ed Swickless is retiring, and we certainly wish him well and, thank him for all his service. And you had sent us an email, whether it was a couple days ago or yesterday, I'm not sure. And in addition to Ed, our comptroller, Glenn Klocko, will also be retiring, I understand, in June. Is that like the last day of June? Is that the schedule for that, or do we not?
No, I think it's June 16th.
He knows.
I was going to say 19th.
And how many days is that? No.
He's been telling us that for 2 years.
In any case, while there's a little bit of time before Glenn retires, Mr. Swickless is retiring very soon, and I'm just wondering what the plan is. It doesn't seem like there's much time. Your email to us talked about the process for selecting replacements for them, and I'm just wondering what the plan is, particularly in parks. Is there someone scheduled to be like an interim director, because that's such a short time frame?
That hasn't been announced yet. We've been discussing that. I've been discussing it with the mayor, and we'll discuss that with Ed as well.
Okay. And the other thing is, the process in general for both those positions, are we going to be using like statewide resources, like whatever the group is that comptrollers might belong to across the state, to help us with that choice?
Yes.
And also with parks?
Yes. Well, Glenn's position, we've already advertised it. We've done it with the Hartford Current online. We've advertised with the GFOA, with CCM, and a number of other sources.
Well-
And when we get to the interview process, we'll bring in an outside panel. We'll have input from Glenn to do a technical panel, and then we'll bring in a second panel to make a final selection.
Okay. And will we do that with parks as well, where we use, experts in
Yes.
parks from other places?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. That's it.
And I have nothing. Resignations.
Resignation, it's from Kathy Faber from the Startup Bristol Task Force.
Motion to accept the resignation and send the letter of thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passes. City engineer to appoint Ray Rosinski to replace Paul Strotterman, retiring 4-year term to 2/16/21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Ray, congratulations. Housing Authority to appoint Greg Klemick to replace Gary Shafik, 5-year term to 12/31/21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Public Works, Board of Public Works to reappoint Morris Lavero, 3-year term to 2/20.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Zoning Commission to appoint Tim Gamache to replace James Albert as alternate on expired term to 12/19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item number 11.
Your Honor, do you also have the list for the Chippens Hill Middle School?
No, I don't. This is going to be to appoint people to the Chippens Hill Middle School Roof Replacement Committee. Matt Harnett, school principal. Amy Capizino, Chippens Hill school parent. Peter, what's that?
Campusano, I think.
Capizano. Peter Roberge, member of the professional community of the city of Bristol. Nancy Karen, Chippens Hill parent. John Smith, Bristol citizen at large. Melanie Dumat, member of the professional community of the city.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item number 11.
Award of contract 2C1767, re-roof of Firehouse 3 to JD&D Construction Incorporated for $55,200, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate such said contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item number 12.
Award of contract 2C1737, Southeast Bristol Business Park earth excavation, wetland construction to Tobacco and Son Builders Incorporated for $52,300, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate said contract.
So moved.
Motion made, do I have a second? Seconded, discussion.
Just an explanation, what is it?
Yeah, what's the excavation?
What we have here is, when we began working with the Pods company for Lot 1, there was a wetlands on that lot. So we committed to move that, basically to relocate that wetland. So we filled the existing wetlands on Lot 1, which enabled Pods to construct their building. And now it's time to construct the new wetlands. We moved it from one lot to another. So this is the second piece of that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes.
One
Item-
abstention, please, Mayor.
One abstention. Item number 13.
Authorization for mayor or acting mayor to enter into contract with Connecticut Brownfield Land Bank for $10,000 for consulting services related to remediation and disposition of 273 Riverside Avenue, acting as advisor to Bristol Development Authority and Corporation Council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Any other business? Motion to adjourn. Move it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Have a happy Valentine's.